that's when it really took off to me because it was more than just painting. It was impacting people's lives. And that's what the leadership of our company is all about. We call it developing people. But that's what we're about. We love watching the next generation grow and take ownership, take responsibility, mature. Yeah, having the impact on people is what kept me in the painting business.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Aleph Ventures TV. Today, I am very excited to have the founder and owner of Final Touch Painting, Mr. Eric Crawford, but most importantly to me, a partner with Aleph Ventures. So, Eric, welcome to the show.
Yeah, hey, thanks for inviting me, Hokum. Great to be here.
Yeah, man. We're going to talk about a bunch of different things. I think you're a guy who has been around a while, done a lot, and so obviously we love just the partnership and being able to do life and business together. But I just want to talk to you a bit about the journey. But maybe for folks who don't know you, don't know the company, give us just like a quick overview. Where are you? What do you do? Who do you serve?
Mm-hmm.
Give a kind of high level overview.
Yeah, so we're over here in the great state of Ohio, OH-I-O for all those Ohio folks. Columbus, north side up in Delaware, but it's all just part of Columbus. So we do residential. Probably 60 to 70% of our revenue comes from residential, about another 30% for commercial related. Interior, exterior, power washing, the basic standard painting stuff. So been here, started it when I moved back to the Columbus area in 2006. So we're celebrating 20 years of Columbus.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
A couple decades.
So it's gone by fast.
maybe let's go back to the beginning. Like how did you end up having a painting company? Was that always the plan?
Well, yeah. Well, actually, I share this a lot with our clients when I do get out and give estimates to clients. I don't do that as much anymore, but I like to tell them like, hey, I've been painting since I was 16. It was my first. I mean, the only reason why I own a painting company is really because my older brother, who's about 4 years older than me, when I got my driver's license, the first year I got my driver's license, it was right in June, right at the beginning of summer, and he was on a chuck and a truck painting crew, painting some apartments down near OSU University, Ohio State University somewhere, and joined his crew and just painted. Really loved working. I mean, I loved being outside. I loved working hard. I loved making money. It was fun. And yeah, I just did that and other construction related things all through high school and college. In grad school, I'm actually a bivocational pastor. So in seminary, I didn't want to work nights and weekends. I was already married my high school sweetheart halfway in college, already had a child and one on the way by the time I was in grad school. Figured, well, I know how to paint and I know realtors needed painting because my dad was a realtor. I did a lot of work for his clients, kind of like one-offs. So I just made business cards, passed it to all the realtors around in a small town called Warsaw, Indiana, and I had a painting company. My first job was, never forget it. My wife was pregnant with our second child. We had an 18-month-old daughter, Kayla, and we needed to flip this rental in 2 days, a Saturday and a Sunday. So we stuck Kayla in a porta-crib, and my wife and I painted this whole interior in 2 days so it could be rented out on Monday. So that was my first job. Never forget that one. We laughed about that.
Well, good thing your daughter probably forgot about that one.
Yeah.
She was young enough to forget about that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've mentioned this on the show a bunch of times. I mentioned in conversations of some of the kind of accidental entrepreneurship, but maybe was scaling a painting company your first career choice? Or like maybe you take me through like that was like the exposure to painting.
Yeah.
But then when and how for you and your family did this kind of become the main economic engine
so I got done from seminary and pastored full time for 5 years. And I was in my late 20s. And that's pretty young to pastor, be a lead pastor. Plus, I was still learning marriage and family and other stuff. And so after 5 years, we took a break and we moved back to Columbus. And we just wanted to kind of get we needed make sure that the foundation of our family life was solid. We already had three kids at the time. We were in the middle of adopting a fourth child internationally from Vietnam. And so we just felt like we just needed a break. And we moved back to Columbus. And because we're both from Columbus, it took off. And I realized, Hokum, that I was mentored by five guys in high school, college, and grad school. So five different guys through a course of about 10 years poured into me in kind of a one-on-one relationships, praying, discipling, praying with me, praying for me. And boy, I tell you what, by the time I was 30, 31, 32, man, I had a desire to do that. And obviously when you're painting, it's kind of a young man sport. So a lot of my first hires were late teens, early 20s, guys that maybe just didn't have a strong family life, to be honest with you. They didn't have a strong father in-law in their life really helping them guide through. And so, man, we got to work with a lot of young men. I mean, I've hired over 300 young men in my life, 300 in 20 years. A lot of seasonal
Okay.
guys that work for us, students, high school students, college students, guys who worked for us for a couple of years and they moved on to something else. But man, that's what it really took off to me because it was more than just painting. It was impacting people's lives, and honestly, that's what the leadership of our company is all about. We call it developing people. Actually, we used to say this, Hokum. Our tagline was "Boys to Men, Men to Giants." That was our passion statement. If you're familiar with traction, there's a what gets you up out of bed. Of course, we started hiring women, so we needed to do a little bit more generic. So it's now developing people, but that's what we're about. We love watching the next generation grow and take ownership, take responsibility, mature. Um, I've performed three weddings of employees. That's been kind of fun. They honored me with performing their wedding, so that's been kind of cool. So, yeah, having the impact on people is what kept me in the painting business. Because when you're an employer, you get to have influence on your employees in a way that honestly I wasn't able to have when I was a pastor, to be quite frank with you.
Sure.
And that's
Sure.
really the purpose of my life is people.
I love that. Well, so there's that people component that you kind of get to do that. But then
Hmm.
there's also other parts of the business, right? If you want to help more people, the business has got to grow,
Yeah,
which means the systems have to grow, which means. And
which I was
so
not good
maybe,
at.
yeah, so maybe walk us, I don't know, I think
Yeah.
give folks, everybody goes through this, right?
Yeah,
And so
yeah, amen. Yeah.
maybe for you, like when did you start getting serious about like
Mhm.
systematically growing the company? And what did that look like for you?
Yeah, when I my first business book I read was E-Myth Revisited. Couple big lines out of there is, do you own a job or do you own a business? Uh, that's one of them. And then, a couple other things came out of that book. But really, that and then Traction, Wickman's book Traction, really, those two really things helped me to like, I want to build something. I actually remember the moment when I realized I needed to do something, not want to do something needed. I was painting it was the winter time, and there's an older painter here in town who was short on work, and I was painting a big house on a golf course down the road. And he called me up and he said, "Hey Eric, do you have any work?" I said, "Yeah, come on with me. I'm painting this big old house. So it's a whole repaint. I'm going to be there for a couple weeks." He came to join me, and I was in my early 30s. I was probably 32 at the time, 33, 32. And he's a good 10 years older than me. He may have been like 45. And I saw him up on that ladder and I said, I do not want to be 45 and being on a ladder. That is not what I want in life. That's not where I feel like my gifts are. And that's when I started reading. I started asking around. And that's when I read E-Myth, I read Traction. And that was probably back in probably about 2010, 2012. For the first 4 or 5 years, just me and a couple other guys, just putting money on the table, feeding the family. This the basic necessity of life was covered. But after that, I realized I wanted to build something, and I did. And actually, what actually helped me is when I hired a young man. He was actually my first hire. Um, I do some subcontractors, but I never really had an employee. He was my first W-2 employee. His name was Mike Ackerman. Still go to church with Mike this day. Love him, great brother. And he really took ownership of his job, and he did a great job, and he was a born leader, and he allowed me to then get off the jobs because when I hired him in March, right at the beginning of the season, by fall time we had four more guys, and I was I was off the jobs completely. He ran two crews going back and forth, and I got into sales. I get into marketing, networking, and really growing the business. And that was huge for me. We still had a lot of learning curve, but that was huge for me, being able to really get off of the brush, get off the job sites, and get into more sales, marketing, business development, that kind of thing. And then we grew until about we were doubling about every 2.5 years. So we had growth patterns anywhere from 25% all the way up to 65% for about 10 years. So we grew from 300,000 to 3 million in 10 years. And then we got stuck for about 3 years. During that process, I actually knew I needed more than just me. So we had an operations manager, we had a sales manager, and we had a GM. And for about 3 years, we tried all kinds of different things and realized the four of us, we were missing something. So unfortunately, I had to let two of those guys go, because we were just stuck. And that's soon after that, about 6 months after that, is when I joined Aleph. But I had known about Aleph for about 5 years. And we can get into that maybe next. But I just realized I didn't have enough. When you get to about 3 million, maybe 4 million, somewhere in there, it was the marketing component was, I kept on felt like I kept on getting ripped off by marketing companies, promised me all kind of digital stuff, and then not really seeing the ROI. I even hired a marketing manager, but he came out of the digital world. He wanted to pour a ton of money into Google, and that obviously he was with us for about a year and a half, and then I had to let him go. When we tried a lot of different things, but I mean, I'm not a business guy, right? Everything I know about business, I've kind of learned through trial and error and coaching and that kind of stuff. And now knowing what I know on the other side of Aleph, knowing the systems and process, knowing the market, I'm like, no wonder we couldn't get this thing moving. We were missing some really key players and really key pieces of information that we just didn't know.
Well, I'd love for you. I mean, you went into this a little bit, but maybe just kind of lead up to a point on it a little bit. I mean, going from, you know, couple hundred grand in revenue to 3
Hmm.
million statistically is rare, as you know, in the industry, super fragmented. So, like, what did you do right? Like, you obviously did a bunch of stuff that worked in order to get to 3 million. Like, what do you think was allowed you to
Yeah.
hit that kind of volume?
Well, I will say this about me. I mean, I'm 50, I'm over in my 50s now. So I became very aware of myself in my mid 30s, I would say. I got some professional counseling, to be honest with you. I helped untie some knots in my personality and my view of myself, view of the world, which was really helpful. And my counselor told me, like, Eric, like, it's okay not to be perfect, basically. You don't have to be all things to all men. And one of the things he really helped me realize is what I was good at. And I realized, Holcomb, I was good with people. I really love being around people. I can sell things pretty well. I can cast vision. I'm really good at recruiting people into our organization. I suck at management. So I'm a good leader. I'm not a good manager. Those are two different skills. I'm bad at details. Um, and so what helped us get to that 3 million is I was able to surround myself with people who are better at things than I'm at. Because like, if you take a piece of pie of skill sets needed in a paint company, I have like a very I mean, yeah, a lot was missing. Dave King, who is now our integrator GM, he's been with me for 12 years, and he rose up through the ranks. And boy, I tell you what, we can get into that later too. But Aleph has taken him from a B player to an A player. He's a superstar. I mean, I knew he was gifted, but I wasn't able to help him grow and develop. And the Aleph systems have, I mean, he's a rock star. I thought he was, but now I know he is. But yeah, Dave was really key because he offset me. I mean, he's much more steady. He's much more interested in details, systems, and processes, and immensely trustworthy. I mean, I trust Dave inherently. In fact, he's earned equity into the business now. So we created a plan a couple years ago. If we get to this revenue and this profit margin, you will have earned in to a percentage of equity. And all helped me finalize that deal this January. So Dave and I are pretty stoked about that too.
I love that. I love that. I think that's a super important point. Maybe I love how you do like leadership and management.
Hmm.
can be, different things. And I think good entrepreneurs are good leaders by nature. And in a smaller organization, there's just less management that's needed. It is a little bit more, okay, everybody's kind of in their lanes. Even if you have like that first wave of an office admin, a staff, whatever, it's like, okay, you're kind of the only person doing it. So like you just do your thing and I'll just do my thing. And there's not, management is pretty light. It's like scaling past that, it starts to get challenging. So maybe just to describe like more specifically what kind of used to work and then stopped working, like, or where did you kind of, where were the fine points of feeling like the ceiling that you guys were running into around 3 million?
Well, was big, like marketing was a big one, lead generation, right? Like, you know, a lot of our business came through referrals and past clients and networking, and you can only get so far with that. And I think that was definitely a big gap is how do you make marketing dollars effective without spending 10%, 12%? I mean, right now I think we're at like 6.5, and we're aiming at 6 million plus this year. Um, I mean, how do you do that without just burning cash? So that was a big one. A lot of it also then is um, really a lot of it was developing people, holding them accountable, and rewarding them for the really good efforts. Um, Obviously, through the Aleph system, the key players are your sales staff, your project managers, and your coordinators. And what Aleph has really done for us is helped us really more like crystal clear. What's the job description and metrics for a good salesperson? What's the job descriptions and metrics for PMs? And then what's the job description and metrics for your coordinators? And then the software, it's all crystal clear. I mean, everybody knows how they're performing, and that's hard to do. Actually, I was just talking to my son today about his role in his company, and you know, it's a growing company. It's run by some 30-year-olds, and they don't have this yet. And so I was really encouraging him, like Ethan. One of the reasons maybe you're struggling is because you don't have clear job descriptions. You don't have clear metrics of how do you know when you're being successful. Every employee wants to know two things. Someone told me this. I don't know who to give credit to, but someone told me once employees only need to know two things or really want to know two things. And one is, how am I doing? In your eyes as my boss, how am I doing? How am I performing? And second of all, how's the company doing? Meaning, am I going to have a job in a month? you know,
Sure,
and
sure.
most employees, if they know that their boss is happy with their performance and they're happy with their performance, bingo. And if they know the company's doing well and there's a level of stability, bingo. That's that's key for somewhat of a healthy work environment.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I would say I don't think this is business specific, right? I think there is almost this could be organizations that you're a part of outside of work, or like these could be social organizations or whatever.
Could be in
Like
your
I think
family.
whenever there's like clarity
Hmm.
of those things, I think there's, as
Yep.
the human being, right? Like
Hmm.
we want to know how to do well, and we want to know that we are doing well or not. I think if somebody's not, then they're probably,
Yeah.
that's maybe
Well,
somebody
well,
to.
it's we're made in the image of God, and we want to know that we're loved and appreciated. I mean, how many people listening to this podcast? How many times can you remember that one of your parents said, "I love you"? Just those simple words, like "I love you," "I appreciate you," "Thank you for doing the dishes," "Thank you for taking the trash out." Right. So even in the base organization of all civilization, which is the family by God's design, our children need to know that they're loved and they're appreciated. They also need to know when they've stepped out of bounds, right? Like, hey, you crossed So, and that same thing just goes up into healthy organizations. So, anyhow,
I'd love it. I love it. Um, Maybe could you speak to when it got hard enough to where you were like, okay, I need to do something different. Like, was there a particular month, week, uh, low
yeah,
point that might be helpful to just share, like what your experience was?
yeah. I mean, the one of the things you got to know is two of the guys that I hired to be a part of the management team were kind of friends of mine through outside circles. I mean, I did have a tough time of inviting somebody I didn't know onto the management team. How would it go? And actually, it's funny because um, the first time I heard about Aleph was when you guys did Paint by the Numbers. I met, I think it was Alex and Chet at actually, it was an event over in Philadelphia before COVID. So this must have been 19.
I think
I think it
this
was
was
19.
the, yeah, 2019. And for those listening, um, Chet is our CEO, Alex is our COO,
Hmm.
partners, board members. And this was probably a residential forum
Yeah, it
in
was. It was
Philadelphia,
a
maybe
residential.
like
Yep.
through the
Yep.
PCA, I think.
Yep. PCA. Yep. Yeah. So I was there and just met them. There's a cool story. I won't go into how I met Chet and we got talking. Anyway, they invited me up for, I think it was the very first time they did Paint by the Numbers. I think you guys did it for 2 or 3 years up in Minnesota, but I flew up there for that. And the first thing I mean, honestly, the first thing I heard, I was like, I can do this. I could do this. I mean, they're telling me like what you need to know, and it was a great conference. And so I remember at the hotel, I remember Hokum at the hotel. I probably even have the notebook because I keep journals. And I said, look, it was just Dave and I at the time. And I said, man, if I wrote a list of 10 what I considered superstars in the business world, like if I could just have one or two of these guys join me, man, I think I could rock the world in the paint world. Because I saw you guys, right? I mean, I saw Chet and Alex and Jason. It's like they're just a team of dudes, right? Like, of course, I didn't know how good they were. Kind of underestimated that. But anyway, one of the guys was on the list, and he ended up coming working for me as a sales manager. He retired from a $2 billion company as VP of HR. So the guy is very smart. I mean, I love the guy. His name is Doug. Doug and I, we love each other. And I invited him on the team. And then there's another guy who came and be at GM, and he was out of the logistics world. So he managed a hub where they brought in a bunch of products and they distribute them to all the storefronts, blah blah blah. And so both these guys came on the team about a year or so, maybe a couple years apart from each other. I thought, man, we've got an awesome team, and we did. We grew from like 1.5 when my GM came up to about 2.5 when my sales manager came, and then we got stuck at 3. And we got stuck at 3 million, about 3.1, 3.2, 3.3. We grew every year, but it was by like $100,000, like minuscule. And yeah, it was after 3 years of just not growing revenue. And you know what happened, Hokum, is that one year, every single employee in our company, we had over 30 employees at the time. Every single one either asked me or my GM for a pay raise, and we had to tell them no because
Sure.
even though we were doing 3 million in revenue, we weren't even doing close to 10% in profit. And I could only pay people out of one thing, and that's profit. And we didn't have enough profit to kind of really go around. And that's when I realized, like, and I was just exhausted. I wasn't sleeping at night. My health was suffering, to be really honest with you. I mean, my kids, my wife all look back and say that was a pretty tough time for me personally because you feel the weight when you've got 30 employees or more families, whether it be employees or subcontractors you're feeding, you feel that weight. And, those of you who are business owners in the audience, you know that. Those of you who aren't, I would encourage you to pray for your business owner because there's a lot of privileges that come with owning a business, but there's a lot of responsibilities to come too. And for those who care about their employees, um, not just the money coming in the bank, it wears on us really heavily. How are the people that we're stewarding? How are they doing? How are they really
Mhm.
doing? And yeah, I just realized I won't go into real details because there was a mistake that was made by someone that really showed me like I can't keep on letting this happen or it's going to jeopardize everybody's opportunity. And I had to let a couple, actually 4 people go within a year. I mean, general manager, sales manager, marketing manager, and another office staff member. And for me, that was pretty hard because I like hiring people. I don't like firing people. You know, it's funner to
Yeah,
hire
sure.
than fire. And
Yeah.
that was pretty difficult for me. But yeah, that's when I knew I got to do something different. And then Olive came in soon after that. It came back to my mind, and we reconnected, and it just flowed.
Well, I would love to maybe speak to that just from your experience, right? You and I had a series of conversations, and we kind of got into, for those listening, my role within Aleph. I've been a part of things since 2017 when it was just Paris painting. So was part of, building Paris painting. And then really I sit in our director of development seat. So whenever there is somebody who, we feel like could be a good partner for us, we could be a good partner for them. I steward a discovery due diligence process. And some folks there, it's like the first time meeting us, they don't know anything about us. And some folks like Eric, very familiar relationally, but there's still some things that we need to kind of get more clarity on and make sure this is a good fit. But what did you perceive as we really got into brass tacks of, okay, let's like really look at partnering, and what did you
Hmm.
perceive as different about an all of the like our partnership model versus what you had tried before or what you had kind of worked on before? Or, and then I think I want you to speak to just how you were kind of perceiving that in the discovery process. And then
Hmm.
obviously I want to talk about what the reality has been like. But yeah, what caught your eye?
Well, really, there's some core values that we really share with the board members. I mean, we've met all the board members, all five, plus guys like you and others, and it's not just about business. It's beyond that. There's really a faith and family component that was really, really attractive. I mean, I've heard Hokum, partnerships always start great, but most of them don't end very well, you know.
Yeah.
And what is it all about? It's all about the money. I've heard stories in the community of partnerships going sour, and it's always about the money, right? So I knew that going in, like, man, if we jump into something, it has to be really clear. And first and foremost, there was the faith and family element that both Dave and I were very comfortable with. We had gotten to know you guys. I mean, I'd been up to paint by the numbers. I mean, I had made like 5 trips up to Minneapolis over 5 years, like paint by the numbers. And then Brent and I came up either once or twice,
Yeah,
and
you
then
just
Dave and
popped
I
up,
flew
I
up
think.
that spring when we signed. So yeah, I mean, for us, there was a lengthy period. My problem was I thought I could do it without you guys, to be honest with you, and I didn't realize that this is like, now that I'm on the other side, I'm like, that would have been impossible. I didn't know what I didn't know, right?
Sure.
So
Sure.
anyway, um, but yeah, the faith and family was really attractive. And then the transparency, like the Wallogy, I mean, I can see what some of the other partners are doing, right? I mean, that's both uh encouraging and challenging all at the same time. Like, man, the other partners can see how we are performing, right? We want to be one of the leading partners in Aleph. And right now we are in sales. We're number 2 in sales of all, and our team is stoked that we're number 2. I don't know how long that'll last, but we're stoked that, man, we get to be one of the top companies in Aleph to lead the charge, at least in sales and hopefully in other ways too. But yeah, there's a transparency there, not just with Aleph and Final Touch, but also with all the Final Touch team members, right? They see their numbers, and again, we talk about their metrics and those kind of things. So I really appreciate the transparency, and also I think more importantly, or as importantly, I just felt like Aleph really cares. Like they want us to win. When Alex or one of the board members come, like I feel like we're important to them and they bear the burden. It's not just me sitting as an owner all by myself. It's like someone's got my back and they have a vested interest in seeing us conquer certain challenges or problems that we're having. And they've been there, done that because Paris is almost a $20 million painting business. So it's like if I have issues at 6 million, 7 million, they've already been there. They know that. They know some of the tactics that will help us navigate those white waters, and that's huge. That's huge for me.
Yeah, and I think the as time goes on and we do more of these, I'm just convinced of equity is so,
Hmm.
I think, just helpful, right? And it's
Hmm.
almost like a you know, you know, kind of if somebody gets married, it's like, one shall not enter into marriage lightly. It's like
Hmm.
consider it. And I would say the same thing about
Yep.
equity. Like, it shouldn't be flippant. It shouldn't be like, it's a big, big, big deal. What you as the founder do with the cap table of your business. But I would say for the right partner, just to align interests, it is such a helpful, right? Because I think, yes, I think we have good people who care. But it also is just, I think the model helps too. Whenever that's kind of the rocket fuel piece where it's like, there's good people that also have a model that encourages that care and rewards it, where we do have a vested interest. It's if we don't solve this together, we're not going to solve this. Well, whatever the this may be.
Well, let's just take the equity that my integrator earned in, right? Like Aleph didn't poo-poo that at all. They thought it was an awesome. In fact, they do that already with some of their key players. And so I just used their contract. I mean, they allowed me. They walked me through and we made the changes. So it's again like that. Like I didn't have to rethink the wheel. Like I didn't have to come up with the whole wheel. They'd already done that. And they were encouraging because they recognize too, like when key people in your organization have even a small piece of the pie, that changes their outcome, right? That they show up to work as an owner in a very
Totally.
real way that you can't if you're getting another paycheck and you may or may not be here in a year. So
Totally. Let's maybe speak to just the first. So maybe give folks an idea. Gosh, we really just passed a year, little over a year of
yeah, just
partnership,
it's amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
which is crazy. But let's go back to maybe early on. If you think back, the first quarter, 30 to kind of 90 days, like, what was that like, and maybe where did you feel the most immediate lift in the partnership?
Well, first of all, the culture of our company is really important to understand. They were hungry to move on because when I had let over a course of a year four major people go, I had to justify that to the rest of the team. Late 2024, early 2025, I laid out the P&L and I just shared with the rest of the team where we were. I showed them our revenue and I showed them our bottom line, and it was single digits. And I just said, folks, this can't. I mean, we can't continue. I mean, and I said, before it wasn't that. Before COVID or early COVID years, it was we were fine, right? People were getting pay raises, blah blah blah. Um, and I said, so they knew people were they knew something needed to change. They wanted something to change too. And so the other thing is we had a really rip-roaring staff. Um, I had done a lot of development. We had hired a lot of good players. I had visioneered. I mean, I visioneered and recruit, and I had vision casted where we were heading. And so we had some people willing to. We actually, one of our PMs right now, he worked for a commercial company, a big one here in town. He came and took a pay cut to join us because the company he was working with was burying him in the ground, you know, working 60, 70 hours. It was horrible for his marriage was dissolving. It was not going well. His relationship with his kids was not going well. And he came over us to take a break, but he understood where we were. We were still going up, but we weren't going to like bury him. And so he was one of the guys like, yeah. And as we grew through Olive, he's been able to take way more on. But all that to say, we had a team of people that were rip roaring ready to go. So when we joined the Olive systems and places, honestly, I think Kyle told us we were one of the fastest companies to onboard because it wasn't just me and a couple of dudes and then a bunch of painters. I mean, we had a sales team of three other people. We had two other PMs. We had two office staff, and we had me, and then Dave, our kind of GM ops manager. So we had a team of almost 10 people that could move this ball forward pretty easily, other than all of our staff out in the field. So the transition wasn't hard for us because we were ready to go. We all wanted to see growth that had not happened in the last 3 years.
And I would say that's something that I, obviously knowing you for years, I think our team, we all felt really comfortable at this, but I think it's something that with each rep that I go through in due diligence, one of the things I'm looking for is the systems that we are going to provide as a partner, Wallogy,
Hmm.
our learning management system, our job descriptions, our, all just that infrastructure. Is that does that represent an optimization of desires that are already there, or
Hmm.
is that us introducing a whole new philosophy of how to run a business week to week? And I think in your guys' case, that's it, it's not necessarily like it was a whole new philosophy. It was just a more streamlined way of doing and doing better what you guys really wanted to do. And so I think the team obviously ran with it.
Well, just software alone, we had been through four different softwares over like the course of like 6 or 7 years because we realized like
Yeah.
we couldn't find something that took clients all the way from A to Z, that showed us what we wanted, that kind of thing. So even the software alone was kind of like a little microcosm of the frustration we were having as a company. Like we couldn't make things as efficient as we knew they should be or could be, and the software was just one of those things that kept us back too.
Could you speak to, and this is something where I always, well, whenever I have conversations with somebody and we mention Paris painting, Paris painting is a $20 million thing. And, we have 23 partners across, Aleph Ventures. And whenever I talk to people, inevitably, if they're the single owner of their business, they kind of compare themselves to Aleph. And I always
Hmm.
just want to be quick to be like, hey, if you have like no single person at Olive built a $3 million, $4 million painting company,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
We partnered super, like the partnership happened way early on, and I think that's a big reason that helped us kind of grow. But I say that just to say, like, what do you feel like now, having gone a year in the partnership? What do you think is capable? Like, what do you think your business is capable of today that it wasn't capable of prior?
Well, definitely scaling. I mean, our I had some visionary things out there before we slowed down. But in the back of my mind, I thought to myself, we don't have the team to get there. I'm going to have to create or hire the team to get there. I mean, the guys we had when we were like 2.5 million and still growing before we hit the brick wall, like, yeah, I want to get to 20 million, but I don't know that I have the team to get there. But we'll get there. We'll add them on eventually. Right now, we want to scale. I mean, we're on pace to double in less than 2 years because of your guys' systems and process. So we grew by 35, I think it was 33% last year alone. And that's with joining you guys May 1st. So, I mean, imagine if we had jumped on in January, you know, and this year we're shooting for 40%. So we went from 3.2 to about 4.2, 4.3, I think it was. And now we're planning on trying to go from 4.3 to about 6. And we're on the pace to do that right now. Um, so our goal is to get to 20 million in less than 10 years. That's kind of our goal. So I definitely think scalability is there. Um, and the other thing I think is really key is keeping employees long term. Those who want to be here, make a good living. Like in this economy, in this, like, you know, we need guys who can make some pretty good money, like 80, 90, 100,000 bucks, right, to support their families. And a lot of those key roles can make that, for sure. Um, and so I love that the structure has created so much efficiency that one person can generate the kind of income where they can support, an entire family, you know, that way. Because yeah, so that those are some key things that come to mind.
Love that, man. Um, what? Tell me a little more about like maybe just the next 2 years. Like, what
Hmm.
do you foresee as, and love the vision, right? And kind of having this, um, having a good sized vision that people can grow into. I think that's a big part of, people need to know that they can earn. Obviously, that's like just practical, but they also need to know that there is a vision that they can grow into as individuals, and that it's not just kind of fluff, pie in the sky. Um, what are some of the big rocks in the streams over the next couple of years? To not just, and maybe not just like top line numbers, but like how is the organization going to look different? Like what's the business going to look like? And what are some big moves over the next year or two?
Well, yeah, I mean, some of it is I already own two other businesses. I own an electrical service company with my son-in-law that we're taking some of the things I'm learning in Olaf and applying to him. Now, it's small, it's under $1 million, but we want to continue to grow that. also own a coffee catering business with one of my daughters. Again, it's small, but again, we're using some of the same principles and teaching them that to grow. We love to go to other locations. I mean, I'd love to, and Olive is helping me do that, like be looking, and you and I have had these conversations like, hey, I'd love to find a paint business down in Cincinnati or a couple more in Ohio, like that we can all of Final Touch can partner with them and help them grow and have some kind of partnership in Ohio. Um, yeah, so we also want people to grow within. So like maybe salespeople move into sales managers, maybe a sales manager moving up into VP of sales. We already have a guy who was project manager, now is ops manager. Very likely, it could be if he continues to mature, he'll move up into VP of ops in a couple years when he's got that maturity and experience to handle that level of leadership. So continue to rise people from within is always great if you can do that, if they have those skill sets, and are willing to make the sacrifices to get there too. It is something they have to earn, not just be given. So um, yeah, yeah, I think there's those. I mean, obviously there's a whole financial thing of stewardship, financing of as these companies begin to make really good profits. How do we steward those for future
Yeah.
generations and future opportunities? Giving fund, our team is jacked about that. We've always kind of supported certain things as a company, but that's becoming a lot more formalized now, about using a percentage of revenue to give back to the community and opportunities, to be a blessing in our local community, maybe even beyond. And now we're formalizing that as a company this year. And so that's a huge one to kind of keep it. Hey, it's not about just getting, it's about giving. And everything we get, we're stewards of, and part of that stewardship is giving back to those who are in need. You know, uh,
Love
Many
it.
of us when we were younger, we were given by people either anonymously or knowingly. So, I mean, that happened to me a lot. You know, um, in fact, Kim and I kind of make look back. We were given 5 different vehicles. We were so poor for the first like 10, 15 years of our marriage. People gave us 5 different vehicles in college, grad school, and then 3 years during my pastorates. So yeah, so we've been given a lot. We want to be givers now. So
I love that. And yeah, there's in Wallogy, which is our software, you can set a giving fee. So you can kind of bring your team into, monies that the business is setting aside for donation purposes. So I love that you guys are getting on that. This has been great. Really, really appreciate your
yeah,
transparency, Eric, as always.
yeah.
If maybe just one last thing, if there's somebody listening and they, I don't know, have checked Aleph out or considered a conversation with us or whatnot, um, or just anybody, I don't know, any thoughts you would leave with them?
I tell you what, the partnership has been 100 times better than what I even imagined. I knew it would be good because of some of those foundational values that we shared, but being on the other side and recognizing how well the systems and processes, how well the business acumen of these guys leading it, I feel like I've grown a lot, Holcomb. I feel like I've developed as a person, as a business owner. Um, and I've spent a lot of money on coaching. I mean, over the last 15 years, I've done a lot of books, a lot of conferences, a lot of one-on-one coaching, and it was all valuable. But this by far has been the most valuable, by far, in the shortest amount of time. All those other ones took a long time to germinate and seed. This partnership is bringing the best out of me and the best out of my team, and that's a win-win all the
Love that, man. And timing's so important too, right? I think like um, timing matters a lot, and it's been really sweet to see how where you and your team have been, and obviously just you investing in yourself in the business prior, how that has kind of laid a awesome foundation, I think,
way. Hmm.
for
Yep.
infrastructure and team like ours to come alongside and really help. So we love you, man. It's been
Yeah.
an absolute
Appreciate
joy.
you guys.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for making some time to have the conversation. Really appreciate
Anytime.
it.
Well, looking forward to seeing you this summer at the conference.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Feel free to check out other episodes, and we'll be back soon.